You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. The battle over voting rights continues in the country. Of course, Texas Democrats left the state under the threat of arrest. You also have, of course, President Joe Biden today giving his speech in Philadelphia. He was at the National Constitution Center where he blasted the Republicans for their efforts to undermine the right to vote. Here is some of his speech.
In 2020, more people voted in America than ever in the history of America in the middle of a once-in-a-century pandemic. All told, more than 150 Americans of every age, of every race, of every background exercised their right to vote. They voted early. They voted absentee. They voted in person. They voted by mail. They voted by drop box. And then they got their families and friends to go out and vote. Election officials, the entire electoral system, withstood unrelenting political attacks, physical threats, intimidation, and pressure. They did so with unyielding courage and faith in our democracy. With recount after recount after recount, court case after court case, the 2020 election was the most scrutinized election ever in American history. Challenge after challenge brought to local, state, and election officials, state legislatures, state and federal courts, even to the United States Supreme Court not once but twice. More than 80 judges, including those appointed by my predecessor, heard the arguments. In every case, neither cause nor evidence was found to undermine the national achievement of administering the historic election in the face of such extraordinary challenges. Audits, recounts were conducted in Arizona and Wisconsin. In Georgia, it was recounted 3 times. It's clear. For those who challenge the results and question the integrity of the election, no other election has ever been held under such scrutiny and such high standards. The big lie is just that, a big lie. The 2020 election, it's not hyperbole, suggests the most examined and the fullest expression of the will of the people in the history of this nation. This should be celebrated. An example of America at its best. But instead, we continue to see an example of human nature at its worst, something darker and more sinister. In America, if you lose, you accept the results. You follow the Constitution. You try again. You don't call facts fake and then try to bring down the American experiment just because you're unhappy. That's not statesmanship. That's not statesmanship. That's selfishness. That's not democracy. It's a denial of the right to vote. It suppresses. It subjugates. The denial of full and free and fair elections is the most un-American thing that any of us can imagine. The most undemocratic, the most unpatriotic, yet sadly not unprecedented.
So what was the reaction from those fighting on the ground for voting rights? Well, this is what Latasha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, tweeted today. Are y'all seeing the tweet here? Let me know if y'all seeing it. Let's see here. Not sure why you can't see it. Let me go ahead and show this here. Trust me, they were not at all impressed with what they heard there from President Biden. Let me go ahead and see if I can get this, show y'all this here. I pulled the tweets of Latasha, Cliff Albright, as well as Reverend Dr. William Barber. And let's see if it pops up now. There we go. All right, give me 1 second, folks. Let's see here. All right, there we go here. All right, Latasha Brown here. Go to it now. Good speech. So what's the strategy? Hashtag end the filibuster now. Cliff Albright, earlier he tweeted, this is before the speech, failing to address the filibuster in his speech today would be an epic fail, period. And then he tweeted, epic fail. He then later said, it's like listening to a doctor describe in the starkest terms how dire your illness is and then saying good luck with that as he escorts you out the office. Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, of course, co-convener of the Poor People's Campaign, said, POTUS, go to Texas and meet with activists and moral leaders of all races, colors, and creed, then go to Arizona and West Virginia and make the case for ending the filibuster to pass these 3 things: the For the People Act, expansion of the Voting Rights Act, and minimum wage of $15 an hour. Joining me now is Ben Dixon, his host, Benjamin Dixon Show Podcast, TERESA LUNDY, Principal Founder, TML Communications, Mustafa Santiago Ali, PhD, former Senior Advisor for the Environmental Justice EPA. TERESA, you're in Philadelphia, so I'll go ahead and start with you. Okay, President Biden goes to Philadelphia, gives a speech. What now? TERESA, Lord, child, how many times we got to go over this here?
You know, I'm just paying attention to the video. So, but, you know, President Biden, you know, he did what other elected officials and politicians have done. They, you know, they come here, they give the great speeches. We're all clapping. We're all looking for, you know, I think the takeaways. We're looking for that strategy. So we don't know what the strategy is, but we do know, you know, that speech was meant to do one thing, and that was to educate that we have an issue, and also to, I think, implore people to continuously do their efforts on the ground so something could happen. We're not entirely sure, based upon that speech, what actually could happen, but I think there is a strategy in place, and we'll just see it when it happens.
What's the strategy? I mean, can you say the strategy in place? This is actually not that hard. The reality is Republicans are passing laws in the states. Democrats can pass the For the People Act and the John Lewis Act. 2 Democratic senators, Kristen Sinema of Arizona and Joe Manchin of West Virginia, say they were not in the filibuster. That's it. So what's the strategy?
There's something in place. I think, you know, again.
What? What's in place? Have you seen it? I haven't seen it.
No one has seen the strategy, but I'm sure from the president's office there is a strategy. But
there is
again, we're all looking for it. And I think that's what people were essentially looking for when he spoke at the Constitution Center about this issue. So I think, you know, again, Twitter is a part of, I think, even the engagement of conversation of asking President Biden, what is the strategy moving forward? But again, it's not. Again, I'm used to these speeches, so we're all like, you know, again, where's the strategy? Where do we go forward? But there really is an answer. Is not an answer unless it's coming from the White House itself.
Where is it, Ben? I haven't seen it, Ben.
I don't think they have one. I think their strategy is actually the big lie. And you can notice in that clip that the biggest applause came when they said the big lie. When Joe Biden said the big lie. And I understand the nature of messaging. I think that is their strategy. This is the reason I'm pointing it out. I think their strategy is to name it the big lie. It is the big lie. We get it. That's important. But that is not enough to push back against what these Republicans are doing across the country. And if the very best of these people who are ever doing this strategery, in the words of George W. Bush, whoever is putting this together, if you all don't have more than the ability to call it the big lie, then we've already lost this fight.
Mustafa, we know it's the big lie. It's been the big lie since the night Donald Trump lost. And in fact, it's been the big lie since that Saturday, since Joe Biden was declared the winner. So we know it's a big lie. But the big lie is causing Republicans to still pass the bills. You can call it the big lie. They're still passing the bills.
I mean, you can call it black folks and Latin folks and young people ain't gonna get a chance to make sure that their vote is actually counted and utilized to make change happen. You can label anything you want to label it. You know, the reality is you got 16 months, and then we're gonna be voting in the midterms. So what you gonna do? It's real simple. I mean, a number of folks have shared with the president. Statesmanship is not something that the current Republican Party is interested in, whether on the federal level or the state level. So let's just be very clear about that. So if you understand that, then Reverend Barber and a number of others have shared with us what you got to do. So you got to make sure that you tell Sinema and that you tell Manchin that we are going to make sure that when it comes to voting rights, that we are going to change the rules around the filibuster, and we expect you to get in line. And we expect you to get in line because if you don't, we're not going to have to worry about resources going to all those programs that you say that you care about and all the programs that we care about. So the reality is either we are going to honor and respect the vote and make sure that all the folks who did all that work as we move toward the midterm, that it's going to pay off. Because if you don't, here's what's going to happen, Roland. If the folks who got put into office for a particular reason, there was a set of agenda, if you are not going to make sure that that agenda can go forward by making sure that you're honoring the vote, then folks are not going to show up, you know, the way that they did before, because they're going to stop believing in the process. So you have the opportunity to actually change that. So call it out. I have no problem with, you know, these bipartisan and collaborative actions that people are interested in that, but they're just not. So you know what to do.
So let me show y'all something, and this is why, for me, this speech was problematic. All right, go to my computer, please. Okay. All right, top right-hand corner. Y'all see that? It says begin with. So I'm going to do this here. I'm going to type in Senate. One reference. It says, Senate, last month, Republicans opposed even debating, even considering for the People Act. Senate Democrats stood united to protect our democracy and the sanctity of the vote. We must pass the For the People Act. It's a national imperative. That's the only reference, United States Senate. All right, so let me try this here. Okay, let me click this here. All right, let me type in cinema. Nothing found. Okay, so let me type in mansion. Nothing found. Okay, let me type in. Let me go back. Sorry about that. Let me type in. Let's see here. Okay, Control. Let me type in filibuster. Nothing found. Teresa, if you're going to give a speech on voting rights in Philadelphia, and you make no mention of Kristen Sinema, you make no mention of Joe Manchin, you make no mention of filibuster, what the hell are you doing?
I think we're encouraging the big lie. I think we are still, you know, pandering to whatever Democratic base that, you know, the president's doing. But I think he also wants to be seen as bipartisan, so or just neutral, really, in this stance. I mean, you know, people left there saying, you know, we went there saying President Biden's going to lay it out, but I also think people left saying, what next? So it's just unfortunate. I think this is a real opportunity to happen.
Go back to my computer, please. Ben, I typed in Supreme Court, and I see a reference of Donald Trump and his folks going to Supreme Court 3 times. Then he mentions the Supreme Court decision in 2013. And then just 2 weeks ago, their decision, again, talking about that whole deal. That's Supreme Court. So let me put in here Arizona. Okay, Arizona, one match. Mentioned him, the audit's being conducted in Arizona. Now, the Supreme Court case actually came out of Arizona. So again, I'm sorry, if you're going to stand up, and give this big speech on voting rights, if you don't discuss the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about Republican Party, you can't discuss this if you don't deal with the reality of the filibuster and the two people who are blocking it. What in the hell does the White House, what do they want us to do? Because see, here's the deal. I've been to the rallies. I've been to the events. We covered, we streamed right here, went live when the Poor People's Campaign, they were in West Virginia. Black Voters Matter, Caravan, beginning on June 19th. Start all the way to the nation's capital, from Mississippi all the way here, ended on June 26th. All those things have happened. I have seen actions. They were on the Supreme Court steps on Monday. These things have happened. I'm still trying to get the White House to understand what more do they want us to do as opposed to Biden. Do y'all have you seen any story saying Biden calls Sinema and Manchin to the White House for a meeting?
Yeah. Roland, they want us to be satisfied when they finally cross the finish line on voting rights, because there's absolutely no way they're going to be able to allow 2022 to come around without this being rectified, or else that's game. That's the ball game. Republicans are playing for keeps. And because I know Democrats know that I'm with TERESA on this, they better have a strategy. But I think part of that strategy is that they want us to be so happy with this manufactured fight that they have us squabbling over right now, when they know what they have to do. They know what they had to do for a very long time. And they have us going to the wire on the very fundamental right to vote. And then they want us to be satisfied and pay no attention to all the other things that they did not get accomplished between now and the midterms. Unless they do otherwise, that's the strategy I think the Democrats are employing.
I mean, again, Mustafa, the people have done their part. We have discussed this issue over and over and over and over again. Now, here's my deal. If you don't want to call out Manchin and Sinema, then just simply come out and say, hey, y'all, they ain't changing their mind. They are not going to end the filibuster. That's it. They are not going to do it. Say that. But don't give me this bullshit of we need y'all to do more. Like what? Like what? That's the problem I have. This as if there's something more that we can do. I know what we're going to do. We're going to register folks for 2022. We're going to beat the bushes to throw out every single Republican who stands with Donald Trump. But don't sit here and play me and act like it's on us when we already know the deal. There are two people who are standing in the way of ending the filibuster. Two. That's it. Nobody else. Sinema, Manchin. Just come out and say it.
Yeah, come out and say it. And also just have real talk. You know, we all been around Washington too long. We know when somebody putting a veneer over top of stuff. If you tell me that you're going to fight for me, you know, when you're asking for my vote, then that's exactly what I expect you to do. And you got to be clear with folks. I often tell folks, I don't care if you're a Republican or an independent or a Democrat. If you're not willing to stand up and do what's right for my community, then there's no way that you can get my vote. And that also means have those tough conversations with Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema that you will not receive the resources that are necessary for your next run. I don't know why folks can't be honest with folks. If you're not willing to stand in solidarity for these things which are basic rights, we're talking about basic rights. If you're not willing to do that, then you don't deserve our vote, and you don't deserve our dollars, because we know what the outcome is going to be in 16 months if you don't get it together. So this is not difficult. The formula is very clear. It's not like that you got to know some advanced mathematics about what's going on. It's 1 + 1 = making sure that voting rights is protected. If you're not going to do that, then you're not serious about the job that you hold.
And again, here's the deal. Here's the deal. President Joe Biden cannot make Sinema and Manchin do what he wants them to do. What I need, Ben, I need to actually hear Biden say, I am calling Manchin and Sinema to the White House. I had a meeting with them. I implored them to end the filibuster, to pass the For the People Act and the John Lewis Act, and they told me no. Folks, I tried for 2 hours. They would not budge. Fine. Say that to me.
It's the classic foil. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are set up there to be the bad people because they have enough years between now and their next election. And I just can't come to any other conclusion. I try to give Democrats the benefit of the doubt. I try to extend them the offer of good faith, but they're not dumb people by long. They have too many degrees behind their names. They have too many dollars behind their names for them not to know this. And because I know they know this, I believe they are playing a game with us so that we will celebrate when voting rights are protected. But I'm sorry, I thought we took care of that in 64, 65.
Well, first of all, anyone that was never protected in 65 because it was 25-year sunset provision that was placed on it. But the thing here, Teresa, is what people are saying. Just level with folks. Again, this is real simple. Okay, and we know what the deal is. You don't want to piss off Sinema and Manchin because you want their vote for your infrastructure bill and some other stuff as well. But hey, if you come out and say, look, I did everything I could, these two ain't budging, we got to move on. I get it. I mean, I totally get it. If it's dead, say it's dead. But don't sit here and play this game here. But if you're going to do it, Teresa, if you're going to do it, you're going to go to Philadelphia, go there and tell the people in Philadelphia, fight the Republicans in the legislature in Pennsylvania. If you're going to do it, go to Texas and say, Democrats, you were 5 seats away in 2020 from taking over the Texas House. I am here to help raise money for you to win back the Texas House in the next election in 2022. Go to Arizona. See, if you're going to do it, go ahead and say 2 Democratic senators in D.C. are not going to end the filibuster. So the only way we're going to move ahead is if we take back some state houses and some state senates and win more Senate seats. Damn it, just say it. And then that's the game plan. That's the game plan I think you're looking for.
And I think that's the game plan people are wanting. So when we have some of these individuals that have been on the ground doing the work, going to their local senator and asking them, Joe Manchin, and asking, how can we move forward, having those discussions. We didn't have black leaders. We didn't have every leader, here under the sun trying to find a common ground. But I think the most important part you said, Roland, had to do with what is the office of the presidency saying, and are they having those meetings, and what is the results from there? So we haven't heard anything from there. Pennsylvania, we have our own issues with the Republican Party as it is. They are in the majority right now in the Senate and in the House. So there is some very interesting elections coming up in the next 2 years that we have to prepare for. But you're right. Even, as we have a Democratic president, there could have been some of that leadership and some of that, I think, reauthorization of authority in the Democratic Party that could have resonated a bit more. So I think there was a lot of missing elements, especially if we wanted to do a national, unification type of speech. But again, we're missing the ball here because there is no strategy. But again, I think that strategy always starts and stops with the office of the presidency.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.